So I am going to be showing you how to decorate a whole bunch of themed birthday cakes. Decorating is only going to be possible if you're icing and stacking your cakes the same way I am. So here is your in-depth look at how I start my birthday cakes. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is decide the size of your cake. For most of these cakes, I'm going to be using cake pans that are 9, 10, and 8 inches. What? 8, 9, and 10 inches. Wow, Sesame Street failed me. If you're going to be serving a lot of people, you might want to consider stacking a higher cake as opposed to using a bigger cake pan. Height always adds a wow factor. That's why these cakes are going to be at least 4 layers and will go anywhere up to 7, maybe even a million. Nope. You can totally use your favorite cake recipe, but I'm gonna be opening a box. I like my layers thick, so usually one box is about 1 layer. Because they are so thick, I bake it at a lower temperature of 325 and I bake it for a longer time of about an hour. If you have extra batter, you can always make cupcakes to go along with your cake. For my birthday cakes, I need 2 other things, a simple syrup and some buttercream frosting. Simple syrup is super easy. It's just equal parts of 2 ingredients, water and sugar. So to a bowl, I'm going to add 1 cup of water and 1 cup of granulated sugar. I'm just gonna place this in the microwave for 2 minutes. You wanna make sure all of the sugar granules are dissolved. And you'll know they're dissolved when all the liquid is clear. Now, depending on the recipe or the amount of sweetness you like, you might wanna decrease the amount of sugar. If I think my cake recipe is too sweet, then I just soak it in water to make sure it's moist. Now, once my simple syrup is at room temperature, I'm just gonna place it into a Ziploc bag. Let's make some buttercream. Now my buttercream rule is that for every half cup of butter, I add 3/4 cup of powdered sugar. Some recipes online say 2 cups of powdered sugar for every half cup of butter, but I think it's just gross. I don't like things super sweet, so this is a good balance. Now all I'm gonna do is take a spatula and incorporate these 2 things together. Now you might wanna use a stand mixer, it'll make things easier. But mine broke, so I'm doing it manually. I'm just gonna be creating a sweet cream frosting with no flavorings, but if you want, you can add vanilla, you can add almond extract. One of my new favorites is actually adding 2 teaspoons of honey for every half cup of butter. It adds really good flavor and it makes the icing super glossy. Now this is a lot of fat and sugar, which is kind of why you're only supposed to have birthday cake once a year on your birthday, unless you're JK, when you have birthday cake every day. I eat birthday cake every day. Now I'm gonna place my buttercream into a large pastry bag. If you don't have a pastry bag, you can also use a freezer bag or a Ziploc bag. Just be careful because they break a lot easier. Once your cakes have baked and cooled, we're gonna level them out. Now I always use a cake leveling tool. I bought this at Walmart for like $2 and it saves me so much time. Before, I used to use a rubber band, a ruler, and a serrated knife, and it took about 5 minutes a layer, where this baby takes 20 seconds. All you're gonna do is adjust the thread so that it's equal on both sides. Then you're gonna run it through your cake. This is gonna ensure that the entire layer is level. And then take off the top and repeat it with all the other layers. Okay. So cake, simple syrup, and icing, we are good to go. Let's start stacking. First, I'm gonna cut a hole into my pastry bag that's about 1 inch thick. Then I'm gonna swirl a little bit onto my cake stand. This will hold down my first layer of cake. Grab my simple syrup bag and cut a tiny hole into the tip of it. Then I'm gonna drag it across my layer and soak the entire thing. Grab my buttercream frosting and I'm just gonna swirl it, starting in the middle and then moving outwards. Now I used to just apply it directly with a knife, but this method is a little less work because you're already ensuring that it's kind of even. Then on goes our next layer of cake. And you wanna make sure that you're stacking it straight on the sides and also that the top is not lopsided. Then you're gonna repeat the steps. Simple syrup, swirling my buttercream, then my next layer of cake. And again, just readjusting it to make sure that it's straight. It's the only time I've done something straight. Another layer of buttercream. Now for our last layer of cake, I'm gonna soak the cake in simple syrup and then flip it upside down when I apply it to the other layers. Then I'm gonna lightly apply some buttercream to the top and the sides of the cake to create a crumb coat. This coat will ensure that no crumbs appear on our decorative layer of buttercream. I'm gonna place this in the fridge for about 30 minutes just so that the exterior layer of frosting can solidify. Now these cakes will be anywhere from 4 to 6 layers, and I actually decided to add another 2 layers to this one. Ralph, I think this cake looks better than you. We're ready to add the decorative layer. Now, depending on how tall your cake is, you're gonna need anywhere from 6 to 9 cups of buttercream frosting. And you always wanna make sure to make extra because running out of frosting sucks. It just sucks so bad. If you do have leftovers, then you've got leftovers for your cupcakes. Now, I've cut a little bit of a larger hole into my bag and I'm just gonna swirl it onto the top of the cake. Flatten it out with a spatula and then work it down the sides. And as I'm working, I'm gonna take some more buttercream from my pastry bag and apply that to the sides. Now, I'm not too worried about smoothing it out at this point. I just want to get the entire thing covered. I always try to make it so it's kind of lifted where the top meets the sides. It makes it easier when you're trying to smoothen it out. And once it's covered, we can start to make this baby look pretty. And you can use an offset spatula, but I actually found this baby at Home Depot and I covered it with a sealant so that it doesn't rust. It's just one swoop on the sides and this baby looks gorgeous. You're just gonna keep working at it until you have a surface that's smooth and one that you're satisfied with. And when you're working on the top, I'm just going to take those lifted corners and just sweep them towards the middle of the cake. I'm just gonna do that all the way around the cake until I have a flat surface. Now with the sides and the top, I'm gonna keep making sure that I have 90-degree angles. Depending on the design of the cake, the color of the buttercream might change, but the technique will always be the same. And one thing that I found is that when you're using deep, rich colors, that when you place it into the fridge, the color kind of morphs. The outer layer becomes darker than the inner layer, so when you smoothen it out again, you're working with two different colors. Now, initially I freaked out about this because that's not what I intended, but I really like it now. It really adds a lot of depth to the piece, so something that was accidental is now intentional. Once it's done, we're gonna pop it in the fridge for about 45 minutes to an hour and then we're ready to decorate. I've got a ton of ideas when it comes to decorating birthday cakes, but I'm curious, how do you think I should finish this one? Let me know in the comments and let me know what you'd like me to make next. I will see you very soon. Bye.